Guys, that's not right. I don't know if it's a crow or a raven, but that's not right, man. He's walking away along the forest floor. Like, you never get this close to these guys. I think there's something maybe wrong with his wing. I'm gonna try to catch him with the fishing net.
She's sleeping. She's exhausted. I think she won't have. Oh, we cracked open one of your pickles the other day.
Which one? Oh, the dill?
Yeah.
Are they?
They were like from last summer.
I did some.
This is the throttle. Put your paws on here. Increase the throttle on the engine, and then you just push. Got it?
Lick it.
Don't lick it. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, heck yeah. Oh.
I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife, have 10 babies, and raise an Irish wolfhound. Welcome to Wild Homestead.
I heard something didn't sound right, and I went to the front of my tent and look what I saw. Funnily enough, after I filmed them and came, I'm like, man, I'd rather be in the cabin than in my tent. Because, I think this thing's pretty bear-proof with the new door we got on here. I think I'm much safer in the cabin, but thank God I always carry the bear spray. Thor's Red Oak. Sandhill cranes and an elk. Oh my goodness, that is a rare critter in Ontario, folks. There's only 4 herds. There's about 500 elk in the whole province of Ontario. That is very cool. Sandhill cranes and an elk. Dang. Would you look at that, folks? The chinking or the daubing, whatever you want to call this, is basically done on this wall. Now, there's a few things that I think we got to take care of while we got the scaffolding and the ladder up here. The first is what to do about the gap between this rafter board and the ends of the gable walls here. I'm going to install this cool security camera that I picked up. So this is actually on recommendation of two of my neighbors who also have this same security camera. They've got a few of them. What's cool about this is that it connects to the cellular network, and as soon as it's tripped, it sends you a picture and the option to download a video of whatever has just tripped the motion sensor on the camera. You can have this oriented to the south, but then you can have the camera facing any direction on the tree. Basically, my two neighbors entered into a mutual self-defense compact, which I am now a part of. So if they ever find an intruder coming onto their property, obviously first thing you do is call the police, but you know, we're like 40 minutes away from the nearest police station. We have also agreed though is that, you know, we'll immediately text the other two people, and if they're home, they're going to bring their dogs because they both got dogs. I will soon have a dog, and you know, shotgun, whatever they have, guns. They're much more heavily armed than I am, and then go to the other person's property to confront the trespasser or trespassers. Now, you know, is it a little bit paranoid? You know, I don't think so. You gotta, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Like I said before, you know, everyone that I've met here in this valley is super nice. But, you know, at the end of my road, there's the cabin that's owned by the American couple, and it got totally ransacked last summer. Those folks are only here like once or twice a year. They're not here very often. But, you know, there's always bad folks, pirates about. Now, a critical thing is you do have to have, I think, at least one bar of 4G, which is what I do have here on the property. It kind of bounces between 1 and 2 bars of 4G. So this thankfully works. I've kind of just been putting it up today and kind of having it trip as I walk by, and it works. It sends it right to my cell phone, which is super cool. It's just better safe than sorry. So really cool. Vosker. I got the Vosker 300. You guys can check it out. I'm going to go hang it up right now. The bee stings, when the dog bites, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, like building a homestead, and then I don't feel so Ooga booga. Okay, this side is done. We got the oakum in every single gap all along this rafter board. Okay, we ran out of these Special Simpson strong ties screws we got up here, but oh my God, that's so much, that's really, really solid. So, you know, I think for sure the weakest part of this entire cabin was the gable ends here, because when you're doing button post, on unscribed, logs where there's no concave excavation on the bottom, these are just sitting, rounded log on rounded log. Now, each one of these has at least 4 of those big timber lock screws, right? 8 or 10 inches going down through them. Or if not, lower down, they're big 12-inch steel spikes. So there is, quite a bit of metal securing them down on one top of each other. But I actually made a bit of a mistake with the gable. I made it too short. So what happens, I think, usually is you want the gable ends coming right out to either your plywood sheathing for the roof, or if you're using, some guys use 2x lumber. They lay it from the ridge beam across, if you've got purlins, which are the roof beams in the middle, down to the eaves beams. Some guys will lay 2x lumber just all the way along there. That's what Sean James did on his first cabin. I guess what else can you do? Or, just laying logs right along these roof beams. You can also do that. But I think normally what would happen is that the sheathing or the 2x lumber would be right on top of here. So you could literally screw or nail through the sheathing or through the 2x lumber or through the logs right into here. But because I made it too short, it still's fine. I just had one of my rafters, my last rafter on either end, sit right on top of it. So I've chinked it here with the oakum. And then I think to tie everything together, though, while I was building it, I put in this one metal clasp. But now I'm putting these big sort of metal clasps all the way along so that every single log is now tied together on the ends and then tied into this big 2x8. This is a brand new trail that goes all the way across the property. This took me a day and a half to do. Last week on my quote unquote, R&R week, I spent a day and a half doing this because I realized I need to see some more of the property and also have another portion of the river to go down to. And I think maybe have an easier access to the ridgeline on the other side of the river. But I was going ham with the smaller chainsaw and the weed whacker for a full day and a half to get all the way over there. This is, across the full 40-acre property. I've never been over here before. We got the dense, coniferous forest up here. But there's a lot of cool kind of mixed woodland stuff down here. It gets a little boggy in a spot and then it gets higher again over near the river. But I was about to go put up the trail cameras and what I discovered is there's no SIM cards. All the SIM cards I bought back in, I guess it was February or March, they got melted into dust during the Great Tent Fire of May 2024. So we've got no SIM cards, but we've got the trail cameras. So I just reordered more trail cameras to my P.O. box in town. Hopefully it'll get there for next week. On the weekend I can pick them up, but I can't wait to get these trail cameras up, man. Very excited, but this is the path. It's hard to tell, but this was very, very thick before and just kind of chose the path of least resistance all the way along. Here we go. Man, it's so satisfying tapping this oakum in. I cannot tell you. So the last thing we got to do, we got to fill this with a chunk of wood and then put the oakum around in these gaps up here too, and take it from there. And then I think tomorrow morning got to rock into town to get more of these brackets because I got a whole bunch of different ones. I didn't know what was going to work. We got to go back into the hardware store and find more of these ones. I like these ones. They're the most robust, and get more of the fastening screws. So this right here was definitely a little sketchy, definitely not to code. You know, when we cut the ridge beam, I originally cut it to the right length, and for some reason I measured it. I'm like, oh, you know, it's 8 inches or something too long. So I cut the 8 inches off. I got it up here and I'm like, oh no, it's too short. And this is the most perfect log. This is the big straight log. This is the longest log in the entire cabin. I decided to just tack them back on. So we got a 10-inch long timber lock screw through the end. And we've got 5 of these plates with each one. That's a lot of screws, man. So this thing hasn't shifted as far as I can tell at all since the installation. And we just got this one rafter sitting on top of here. Now, it's not just sitting on top of this weight. These rafters are technically, most of the weight is going right into this long beam. This is, I believe, I think it's a 12-foot long 2x8. So this 2x8 is sitting on top of this ridge beam all the way along. So most of the weight's going in here. If anything, this thing is just, you know, aesthetic. Berries, and cherry. Oh, by golly. Wow. Okay, folks, we gotta fill this hole. Oh, it's not far off. Okay, we got the first one in there snug. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. 45-degree angle to line up with that. Let's hammer this guy in. How are we looking? Oh, heck yeah. So the first piece of a 2x4 chunk is directly underneath the 2x8, plugging that gap. And then this one's kind of plugging a little bit out. Oh no. So that one is lined up really nicely. I think this one, I actually took off a little bit too much material. So you see it's kind of concaving back, or however you describe that. I think I might try to just stick a chunk of plywood back there and get that straight. Nice. Oh my God, I just realized something. I can't secure the frames, the window frames, to the logs. I can only do it to the frame itself. Either only the frame, it's gotta be only the frame. Because of the shrinkage thing, so thankfully on this frame, on the top and the side over there, the logs are set back a bit, so I did not secure them, but I'm just gonna take out, I only did 3 screws here, but I gotta go back to the other frame over there and take out any screws that are on the outside. Because, right, if the walls are shrinking and compacting down, and it's not gonna be very much, but you want that to be loose. Securing to the frame itself is fine. The frame is dried, but the logs are not. Hello. So I thought I'd just take a second and show you guys the log cabin building books that I read kind of in preparation for this. The first book was Building with Logs. This is really old-timey. This was published in 1945 from the U.S. Forestry Service. To be honest, this is the first one that I read. And to be honest, it's so brief. It just kind of gives you a general feeling. I consult this almost never just because there's so little information in it. It's very small. This one was good. W. Ben Hunt. This was originally published in 1939. And I use this quite a bit just for kind of general old-timey log cabin building rules. And then this is the other one, Cabins. This is by David and Jeannie Stiles. And this guy was published, I believe, in the late 1990s. And this has a lot of cabins from, I would say, like the New England area and the Midwest in the United States. So it's a good resource. Definitely has the most detail, I would say, of all of the. And oh yeah, if you're going to buy one of these books, I would get Cabins, because Cabins has all the information in these other two books. And it shows a mix of old-timey and some modern construction stuff. And it's got lots of different pictures of different building styles. Different examples, kind of can give you different ideas. To be honest, there's hundreds of log cabin building books out there. The best thing is to get out there and start doing it. You want to know enough of the basics, but just get out there and start doing it, because you can spend your whole life preparing and never be fully prepared. So just, get out there, start doing. Sweet. Jigsaw. Moment of truth. Oh, heck yeah, man. Perfect. That gap is just the size where we can caulk along there. Nice. The method works. I don't think I'm going to put this, what is this called, flashing on the other windows, because there's so much overhang. But, if you get like a diagonal rain or a snow, this is a 2-foot overhang at the back. This is the least covered window. So if you do have any precipitation coming down, You know, it should come down the log. I've got a bead of silicone on the top, then come down the metal flashing, and then, you know, down. We're gonna be coating this pine trim, and then, you know, come down that. So I think that's looking pretty good. I did put caulking on the top board as well, up against the wood. We're gonna have to close that off too on the ends, but I think that'll do it. Oops. Come back with more lumber from the truck. And dude, for some reason, just the past few weeks, the birds have been just pooping all over the WOLFMILK ATV in the wolf's den, man. What the heck? We're gonna have to get a proper roof set up inside the wolf's den. This vise is a very important vise to me. This was my grandfather's vise. And my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, my mother's side, he would very much be into what I'm doing right now. He passed when I believe I was 21 years old. He was an engineer by training. He was a navigator on, I believe, Lancaster bombers in World War II. And he grew up on a dairy farm with 400 cows. He was the oldest of 12 kids. One of his brothers even was killed by a bull, if you can believe it, because back in the day, they actually had bulls, you know, to impregnate the cows. Now they just have sperm banks for them, literally. He worked for Ford Motor Company in environmental compliance. He ran the power plant for Ford Motor Company in Detroit, Michigan, that powered operations, I think, on both sides of the river at that time. But then he retired to a big island in the St. Lawrence, which runs between Ontario and New York State. It's called the 10,000 Islands, I believe, because there's so many islands. And he had a Ford tractor, and he just, you know, loved basically his kind of hobby homestead. So, you know, even though I grew up in a city with two parents, you know, who are office workers, and I was an office worker myself, you know, I think most of us are not very far removed from this kind of lifestyle, right? Whether it's living on a farm in the country. My grandfather grew up with no electricity and no cars, right? Most of us are very close to this lifestyle. We've only been away from it for maybe a generation or two or three or four at most, you know? So really, this is not something new. This is going back to how most of us used to live. And who's to say it might be mentally, physically, and spiritually healthier for us. That's been my hypothesis on, you know, why try this. And so far, I can tell you I feel extremely healthy. Now, both my nipples did fall off back in February from frostbite, but other than that, I'm just fine. Broke those two ridges off while cutting. This cedar is really doesn't cut very finely. I find I think the fibers are really big in cedar wood compared to spruce pine fir. Less is more. Whoa, holy cow. Oh boy. Oh man, that hit like a freight train, man. Holy cow. What the heck was that? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, holy cow. What the heck is it? That is a real smallmouth bass. The thing we caught last week was a rock bass. This is a real smallmouth bass. This lake, man, what was that? 4 casts? 5 casts? Gotta love this lake, man. There we go. 2 strikes of the hammer. First one missed the spot a little bit, stunned him. Second one, lights out. Quick, clean kill. Nice little smallmouth bass here, man. This is gonna be perfect for breakfast / lunch. And you know, the fish, these smallmouth bass are just amazing. The fish we caught last week, I'm almost certain was a rock bass. This is just his nerves still working, but he's out, man. The fish we caught last week was actually a giant rock bass, as far as I can tell. But beautiful smallmouth bass, man. Oh my, that's good. Holy cow. Yeah, guys, I was just out grabbing something at my truck, and 2 provincial police SUVs pulled up and they saw me at the end of the driveway and they asked me for directions. And at once I was like, this is weird. I've never seen a police car or a police SUV out here because this is pretty far away from civilization, right? And there were 4 cops. There were 2 cops in each SUV. And they were asking me directions to, so-and-so's driveway. And I was like, yeah, go back the way you came, turn right, turn left, etc. It's over in that direction. I'm like, what's going on, officers? They're like, well, one of your neighbors was attacked by 2 dogs from one of your other neighbors. And I had heard about these dogs before, that you had to watch out for these dogs. Apparently he was really messed up, and the guy thought that he was going to get killed. And luckily he was able to fight the dogs off. Apparently one dog was attacking him, and for some reason the other one wasn't. So he beat off the first dog, and then the second dog started attacking him. Apparently ripped up both of his arms and his forearms. So that's crazy, man. I mean, that's one of the things out here is like, there's more dogs than there are humans, right? And, one of the reason I just have my bear spray in my back pocket at all times. It's, bears, there's mountain lions, there's wolves, coyotes, there's fisher, right? There's the odd wolverine, but not many. But it's also dogs and humans, to be honest. So I even feel like I should have a bottle of this bear spray, maybe get like 10 bottles and just, hang them in holsters kind of throughout my commonly traveled areas. The other thing is, is like when we get our puppy, we have to make sure that he has an outdoor enclosure, because until he gets big enough, but we got to be able to protect our own dog before it, matures. Are there better tools than these 2 things? I guess, for doing scribes on the bottom of logs, they've got a compass that also has a level on it, so you can know how to keep it level. But if you guys have any other better suggestions on how to scribe more accurately, please do let me know, because it's tough, especially with how irregular these logs are. Are there any other tools to scribe these small cuts better? Please do leave suggestions in the comments. Oh, guys, look, this No More Nails, this adhesive that I used to glue that piece in. It is also made by Alexander Nick, my buddy, former employer, Henkel. Just like our beloved spray foam. I didn't even realize I got this. This is LePage. Love, these products are fantastic, man. If you guys can get Henkel stuff, get it. Hey folks, there we have it. The external work on this this end window is done. Quite a bit of fine work required, but a lot of learnings here with this window. Generally, like any problems that you saw with my work on this exterior window, let me know before I do the other ones next week. And I can, course correct. I did not seal it with any caulking or piece of wood on the bottom. This bottom piece of trim is sitting pretty flush up against that log. And plus, like we left the bottom of the window unsealed in the frame, if there is any moisture that gets back down there, I guess it should be able to come out the bottom, right? But seeing how with the flashing and all the caulking and the trim, I don't see how any moisture could get back up there, right? We've caulked pretty much everywhere. So hopefully it's okay. I am completely doused in this oakum stuff. Man, I love oakum. Honestly, as I'm doing this, I'm just thinking about doing the rest of my windows, and I can totally use oakum for insulating in the top, in insulating in the sides, in between the frame and the window itself. I think I'm gonna try to use as much oakum as I can on the windows going forward.
This week on Wild Homestead was a wildlife bonanza. We saw hummingbirds, a big bear in camp, wild turkeys, sandhill cranes, and an elk, the first one I've ever seen in my life. We caught and ate our first smallmouth bass. On the east gable end, we installed the exterior fittings for the sleeping loft window, the trim, the flashing, and scribed end caps. We chinked the gable from bottom to top, including the side seams that run against the rafter boards. Critically, we installed double metal bracing, tying together every gable log end with the adjoining log as well as to the 2x8 end rafters, greatly increasing the structural rigidity of the gable end. We installed the north window trim and interior flashing. We chinked the entire west gable end as well. The only chinking left to do are the corner gaps now. We went south to join my sister to help my mother pick up her now 4th Weimaraner dog. We made the 10-hour round trip to my aunt's place and brought back our sweet Norwood sawmill. We spent 1.5 days cutting a trail to the far southwest corner of our 40 acres. And lastly, we installed a solar-powered security camera that can send real-time live stream video to our cell phone, linked to a mutual self-defense pact with our 2 neighbors. A major step up in our homestead security. Next week, I'll be buying the wood stove and sharing how I have sourced our firewood for the upcoming winter. We're getting ever more close on having the cabin closed in. Winter is coming, but slow and steady wins the race. If you are ever in a pickle, remember one simple action can save your hide. Shouting the following phrase at the top of your lungs, 3 words, 9 syllables. Ooga, booga. May the gods bless you, both the old gods and the new. Strength and honor.